In this episode entitled How Gratitude Changes Your Life, we'll discuss things like deciding not to be disabled, stop feeling sorry for yourself, momentarily losing your purpose and what to do about it, creating a life beyond fear and anxious struggle, and deciding and acting out of genuine gratitude. Now take a moment to ponder and reflect back to a time in your life when you momentarily deeply questioned and maybe even felt like you lost your purpose. Where inside those moments of uncertainty would gratitude have been the exact ingredient to bring you back to your center? What specifically did you choose to be grateful for that helped you not only reconnect to your purpose, but helped you deepen and enrich your zest to serve, support, and enjoy all that life had to offer? Or perhaps you're still in that gap of regaining a solid reconnection to your inner purpose and drive towards life. If so, when you lean in and listen with kindness, what could you be most grateful for right now? What does the gratitude nudge you to focus on just a little more and helps you to participate with in a deeper way right now? Welcome to Weekly Wins and Losses. My name is James Hepner, former real estate entrepreneur turned self-development hacker, coach, and fulfillment strategist. Each week, we bring you a thought to wrestle with that'll help you live fully alive and gain more life. Real life is made up of both wins and losses. Both were designed for your good. That's basic reality. Without facing and learning how to embrace your losses for greater gain, you miss out. You leave 50% of your life experience on the table. So with that, let's begin the show. Welcome, friends. Today on the show, I have someone that hosted me graciously on his show, Michael Herst. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here, James.
I'm sure you are. You just mentioned to me in the pre-recording that your podcast hit top 10% in all podcasts. That's quite the accomplishment. Good job.
Thank you very much. I am very grateful to everybody that listens. I'm very grateful to have an audience like that. And so thank you very much.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are listening, fantastic. For those of you that would like to see who this Michael is, you can always go to YouTube and you can pick up none other than Michael Herst. I think Al Pacino changed his name to Michael Herst because this is who he is. He looks a bit like him, and as you get to know him today, you're going to probably experience in some way he's got his own mannerisms. But let's say it like this: he doesn't want to be Al Pacino. He doesn't mind being called Al Pacino, perhaps. He is his own person, and I like that about him. And so Michael is the host here of One More Thing Before You Go podcast. He's a keynote speaker. He's an author. He's a director. There you go, as a hint. Perhaps he is Al Pacino.
I had to change my identity.
There you go. A retired police sergeant who holds an MA in interdisciplinary studies with a focus on performance and digital media, and has a BS. So help me, I understand what that is, but has a B.S.
Bachelor of Science.
I get it. In business, thank you. In business management, a husband, a father, and an animal advocate. Also a vegan who has managed his disease with in a naturopathic way. So that's his way of life. He has a passion for beauty, nature, art, creating, healing, writing, movies, and TV. So again, just so completely honored to have you on. You led me, just for the audience to queue up. If you want to check out something very, very helpful and very fun to observe, tap into the show Hunter, is it Hunter or Hunters? Yeah, Hunters. And it's a show with Al Pacino on it. It's a 10-show series. It's an amazing show. There will be a season 2. And this gentleman, he hooked me up and we were addicted. So thank you.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I say fortunately and unfortunately, my passion is movies and TV. I love movies and TV. It helps me relax, helps me escape from life. And I really enjoy that show. Everybody should watch it.
Yeah, that's super fun. Why don't we dive neck deep, head deep? I think you and I what I enjoy most, let's say it like this. What I enjoy lots about Al Pacino, who cares? But what I enjoy about you is similar to when I enjoy Al Pacino, and that is he's kind of got this playful play. There's some mystery behind it all. And I just think that's really fun. And so here's the thing, when I first got to know you, you're this police sergeant, right? You're this individual that you just
Hmm.
seem how would I say it? You seem quite compassionate towards people. You're a very good listener, and you seem to know your way around using words well. Tell me, how did this all come about?
You know all my secrets. You just divulged all my secrets. You know, it's interesting. Number one, I love to talk, and because I love to talk, it helps me to connect with people. And I feel that we're all human beings that are interconnected across this planet
Mm,
in some form or another. And I love to make sure that I reach that person from their level
mm,
and
mm.
understand them and where they're coming from, so that we can have a valued conversation or a connection that is lasting, and be able to give back to the community that we live in.
I love it. How about you help the listeners understand a bit of your backstory? In particular, the part of, your daughter helping you along. Share that piece.
Well, you know, it is part of my backstory. Is as you said in my bio, I'm a retired police sergeant, and I retired after getting injured in the line of duty,
Mm,
and I developed some injuries, and then soon after that, I developed severe rheumatoid arthritis. I had five doctors that told me I would be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, and I was in that wheelchair for about 4 years before I had some motivation from my family. When my oldest daughter in particular gave me the final kick in the butt to get out of that wheelchair. But it was a journey for me. I had succumbed after the injury and after the diagnosis, and after talking to these five doctors, I had felt that this was my new destiny and that I had no place else to go. So I was angry. I was in denial. I was resentful. I was sad. I was depressed, and all of the above, everything that you go for when you lose something. I
mhm,
lost my livelihood. I lost my identity. I lost where I was in life. And so I have a wonderful family, a wife and two daughters, and they were my strength and my courage and my fortitude to help me overcome,
mm,
knowing that I could overcome and not listen to what the doctors were saying,
mm,
um, and make sure that I was able to kind of move forward. So my oldest daughter was going to get married, and we were planning that wedding, and we were planning that wedding in Vegas. If for any other parents that are out there planning a wedding in Vegas, I'd say bring your checkbook. So we kind of,
uh,
we had a conversation, and I said, Caitlin, your mother and I are giving you this wedding. That's that's what we're doing for you. But what do you want for your wedding present?
mhm,
And she said, no, no, you guys are taking care of the wedding. And I said, no, that's what we're supposed to do as parents. That's what, that's us. And as your father, I want to, this is what I want. She says, well, as my father, I want you to walk me down the aisle.
wow.
So that kind of hit me right square in the middle of my soul.
Uh,
It was a wake up call,
mm,
and she knew it because she knew that I needed something to kind of push me
mm,
in a direction, motivate me, and to inspire me and give me a goal to go after to make sure that I didn't sit in that wheelchair for the rest of my life.
mm.
So from that moment on, I decided to find a way to be able to do that. So I found some brilliant surgeons, and I took my time in finding one. I just didn't pick one right off the top of the list. I went through and I kind of vetted each one of them until I found one that I felt we would be a great fit.
Mm.
And the moment I walked into Dr. Robert Berghoff's office, and I told him what I wanted, and I told him my goal, and he said, "Yeah, we can do that."
Well, tell, feel fair, feel free to experience perhaps things that you have thought of before, maybe even new things, of course. But if you take yourself back to that moment when your daughter requested of you, said, "This is what I would like, Dad, as a gift from you, as my dad, walk me down the aisle." Take yourself back to that emotional moment. You were just choking up. What was it about when she said that had you flip the switch? What was it? Where did it hit? How? And you said soul, but I mean, you're a pretty intentional human being. But what was it that just said, you know what? Maybe I said, or maybe I was thinking that enough's enough. I'll just kind of ride out the rest of my life here in the chair with wheels on it. And you're like, actually, so what was it that made you go, holy smokes, I got to do this? What was it? Well, tell, feel free to experience perhaps things that you have thought of before, and maybe even new things, of course. But if you take yourself back to that moment when your daughter requested of you and said, this is what I would like, Dad, as a gift from you, as my dad, walk me down the aisle. Take yourself back to that emotional moment. You were just choking up. What was it about when she said that had you flip the switch? What was it? Where did it hit? How? And you said soul, but I mean, you're a pretty intentional human being. But what was it that just said, you know what? Maybe I said, or maybe I was thinking that enough's enough. I'll just kind of ride out the rest of my life here in the chair with wheels on it. And you're like, actually, so what was it that made you go, holy smokes, I got to do this? What was it?
Well, and I want to be honest with you. I need to say that first and foremost, my wife and my youngest daughter were there just as much as my older daughter. My family was there as a rock for me during my whole ordeal and 20 years since. They have always been there for me through the whole thing. But when Caitlin came to me with that, it touched me in a way that I had to dig deep down back inside myself and kind of open my eyes and say, like she said, you got to stop feeling sorry for yourself, and you need to take the opportunity to walk your daughter down the aisle. And I stopped and thought a minute. I thought, you know, I have struggled all of my life in certain areas. I was born premature. That was something I had to overcome. I grew up in a dysfunctional family. That's something I had always had to overcome. And I had several incidences throughout my life that created an environment for me that I always had to fight for where I was going.
Mm.
I always had to try to struggle, to climb up, to,
Mm.
to crawl, scratch, claw, work my way up from something.
Mm.
And after I got this diagnosis and after I was sitting in that chair, I had reached a level in my life that I was, again, I said earlier, I was depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I felt sorry for myself. I was resentful because everybody around me was moving up, moving forward, moving on. They went on to be lieutenants, captains, commanders, assistant chiefs, chiefs, sheriff. And I was feeling sorry for myself. I felt depressed because of that. I felt angry because of that.
Mm-hmm.
When my daughter opened my eyes, she opened my heart.
Mm.
And when she opened my heart, she had me take a good deep look at myself and say, that's not the person that I am. And that the person that I am, I needed to go back to being the person that I had been, a person that fought, the person that never gave up, a person that strived to move forward, to make my life better,
Mm.
make those around me better, go back to giving my life some kind of a purpose that I thought I had lost, remind me that I have a purpose as a father,
Mm.
as a husband, as a brother, as a son. She reminded me when she said that I'm more than just somebody sitting in a wheelchair feeling sorry for themselves.
Seems to me, and I don't want to put words to your experience, but to some degree, it seems to me that, you know, like you said, and I don't want to mess your words because this you said it so beautifully. When my daughter opened my eyes, she opened my heart. So listeners, just feel that. Somebody seeing something in a new way. And sometimes I feel like when we see something in a new way, what ends up happening is we can include what we see, even the time that we checked out, quote unquote. Because maybe you were just sick and tired and literally exhausted from the whole narrative that I have to fight to get somewhere. Maybe there was times of relaxation. No, you were depressed, but you're connecting with yourself. You're going, you know what? Why is it that I always have to fight to get somewhere? Why is it? Why is it? And maybe your body was just tired for a little bit, like just to bring some normalcy to it. You were just exhausted. And you know what? You were connecting with someone that was you for all those years or months, whatever that was. And it's like when you took that pause, maybe it was because of the pause. We don't know, not in spite of maybe, but because of. It's like then somebody comes along. And I always think, like, I had a little lesson years ago. I think my children were sent to help redeem me. They're not responsible for me, but I get to see myself often through the lens of what they reflect back to me. And so deep down inside, there are these stories, there are these narrations, like, I was a premature baby. And it's like, well, maybe, and so we perhaps build a story and we're like, well, maybe because of that, that's why I have to fight for it in a certain way. And I'm like, oh, why is that? And I don't think we intend to take on victim mentality.
Yep.
I don't think we do. But all of a sudden, what happens, it seems like for all of us in life is so loving that it will finally give us situation opportunity to see ourselves. And you had a successful career and you were a sergeant, you were moving up in the ranks, and all of a sudden this happens. Of course, you get resentful. And then what's interesting though, you come back to the very thing that you said I'm not doing again, which is fighting for it, but you come back with a new fuel. You come back with a fuel of gratitude, my friend. If right, I don't know. This is what it seems like to me, because I know when you and I were talking, you have such a grateful spirit, and you decided, listen, I can focus on what I don't have. But actually, that's not the focal point. Listeners, pick up. He made a few phone calls. Yeah, he was discreet and he checked a lot of places, but he made a few phone calls and he got to figure it out. All that it took is a few phone calls. And so when I think about this whole narration, it's so beautiful because at the end of the day, it's I think for listeners even just feel this. Often we're like, well, it was that ugly season of my life, and it's too bad that I did that. But maybe that was the very thing you needed for a moment. And then now you come back to, and it's like, man, the daughter, she comes forward and said, Daddy, would you walk me down the aisle? And it's like, Daddy, I've seen in your ecosystem, I don't know if this is true, but I can imagine, I've seen in your ecosystem that you feel sorry for yourself. And I want something better than that for you because you're so much more. The need to feel sorry for yourself. Daddy, you are my daddy. You don't need to feel sorry for yourself. You are my dad. And I love that about you.
Well, it's you hit it right on the head right there. You absolutely hit it target straight. Realistically, sometimes we have to take a pause in life to understand and be grateful for what we have and who we have within our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a few minutes to have to stop and think about that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something just a few minutes ago that really kind of triggered part of my memory back with that. I am very, very grateful. I'm grateful every day that I wake up. And even in the days that I have a bad day, because I still have a disease, that I have to manage. So I do have flares, I do have inflammations, I do have frustrations that take place, not every day, but quite often. Something will roar its ugly head, and here I am again. But I'm still grateful. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for the family that I have in my life. I'm grateful that I have daughters like Caitlin and like Nicole that have supported me and pushed me and have enabled me to become a better person that I was becoming because of what took place with me. And, my youngest daughter and my oldest daughter, I will tell you that when I was in a wheelchair, they did not treat me with a disability. They pushed me around when I needed pushed around. They walked me to the bathroom when I needed to go to the bathroom. They helped me get dressed. They helped put my shirt on and button it, whatever need be, and they didn't bat an eye. I am grateful.
And how is it that the soul can pick up from another soul that they're leaving life on the table? How is it? And then that soul waits for the exact right timing. Because that soul maybe didn't want to say anything about, like Caitlin may not have thought she was going to say, but then you pressed her a little more and she goes, oh, I got to go for it. I got to say it. And how does the soul know this? How does the soul can feel it, I think. When we're connected, the soul is.
I agree with that. I think we all, like I said earlier, we're all connected. We're all part of the universe. We are all connected in some way. Our souls will touch somebody in somewhere at any given time. It can have an effect, whether it be positive or negative, within that soul. And sometimes we need to take the time to open our eyes, like I did, and listen, like my daughter did, and listen, like my younger daughter does, and listens, like my wife does, and listens, like your wife did, like your kids do. Just take the time to listen and be aware that we all have a connection and we all can understand each other from a different level and understand that we all have strength within us, fortitude within us, perseverance within us, and the fact that we have compassion, humanity, and we can be grateful each and every day for what we have in our life and who we have in our life.
Viktor Frankl says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And so to that play, it's always to me very humbling that I'm not doing this life alone. That's kind of cute to think about it, right? Like, oh, I'm doing this like you try. I have a little banana tree outside. If I say I'm going to bring that thing to life, listen, if nature doesn't want it, it won't. You know what I mean? So why would I think I'm doing this on my own? I'm always co-creating. I mean, I choose to believe that there is a God. If people think there's universe or whatever, okay, that's up to you. I choose to think there's something that's I don't think we need to say that God is great so much as we need to just be open to saying there's something greater than us, and that there's a
higher being.
There's a higher being, it's a higher power. Something's going on beneath this whole ecosystem, right? And so I think, wow, lovely to think that instead of me creating this and going, I'm doing this on my own 2 feet. I'm like, yeah, I am. But if I take pause and create the space when I want to respond, why not take a space and then instead of me just directing something that I already know about myself outwardly, why not just be pausing for a bit, put it next to the co-creator, and now you get to co-create together. You wait to hear what the response is and see what's happening. You just give it a bit of space. And in that space, you hear. And sometimes, and who is to say, and I don't want to make this a bigger deal than what it is, but sometimes the gift that was waiting to happen is somebody needed to see something for a prolonged period of time. And maybe it only hit her then. Like sometimes we think, oh, she's known this for a long time. Caitlin may have known this forever, that you're feeling sorry for yourself, but she may have just finally, I don't know. But anyway, to move along a little bit, if you can share a story, or share with me which part of you did you lose, and which part of that are you glad you lost? And which identity did you wake up to? Like you just birthed into something brand new. That moment, actually, to be honest, because you flipped the switch. And honestly, tell me what you think. I don't think when you flip the switch, you're using fear as your fuel so much anymore. You're using a different source of inspiredness to draw you.
I am. It's a brilliant questions, actually. I'll see if I can kind of combine it all into one answer. I had to realize at some point in my life that I had to reinvent my life. I had to find new purpose. We all, I think, seek purpose in our life. We all want a purpose in our life, a purpose for living, whether it be a parent, a father, a mother, a brother, a son, a daughter, a grandmother, grandparent, whoever you are, we all want a purpose in our life. At that time that I was a police sergeant, my purpose, I had three purposes. I was a police sergeant on the way moving up the ranks because I always wanted to be a cop. From the time I got out of college, I went to college to be a cop in the beginning. I've got 2 degrees, lower degrees in criminal justice. And then I went on to a law enforcement career. Once I got married, then that enabled me for another purpose as a husband. And that came just as equal to my job. And then once we started having children, then another purpose that I always wanted to do was to be a father. So the purpose that I lost in the beginning, in my opinion, was because I was a cop through and through. I was a cop that was en route to continue my career and retire as a chief somewhere. That was my purpose. My purpose was to be a police officer, to serve, protect and serve the community like I had done for almost 17 years. My job was to continue to protect and serve. I loved doing my job. I helped people, connected with people. I did walkabouts. I wasn't just your typical cop. I would park the car and walk downtown and talk to the people in the stores. I would talk to people on the street. I would sit on a bench and say, let's talk for a minute. What's going on in your day?
Wow.
I was that kind of a cop. I enjoyed interacting with individuals. So my purpose in the beginning was that. That's what I felt I lost. But in reality, in a second here, I'll tell you how I reconnected with it. So my purpose was to serve the public, to help people, to move people forward.
That was the greater purpose.
That was the greater purpose.
The role that you were showing up was in the uniform. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it was to help people. Everybody asked me all the time, why do you want to be a cop? I want to be a cop because I wanted to help people. I lost that. When I was told that I needed to retire due to my injuries, that was yanked out from underneath my legs, not by choice, but by circumstance. So that created an environment for me to kind of immediately take a negative aspect towards that whole situation. And I forgot about my purpose as a father, my purpose as a husband, briefly, not completely, but they got put on the back burner because I felt that I was not the person. Everybody knew me as a police officer. To this day, they still call me Sarge. Okay. So I have people that I help save their life. I have people that I talked out of suicide. I have cards that I have in a box over here from felons that I arrested that said, thank you for treating me like a human being instead of a felon.
Wow. Incredible.
So from that perspective, I had a lot to work from. I had to have a reminder that even though I was not the person I was started out to be, my goal got kind of, we'll call bulldozed for a minute, if we can use that word, I guess, or, abruptly stopped. My momentum in that abruptly stopped. And I had to reevaluate my life, and I had to learn purpose again because I forgot purpose. My oldest daughter, my youngest daughter, my wife reminded me that I did have purpose, and my purpose was to be a good father.
Mm.
My purpose was to help raise my daughters. My purpose was to walk my oldest down the aisle and to walk my youngest down the aisle. My purpose is to take care of my wife. I found new purpose. Within that, like every triple type A personality, that wasn't quite enough purpose. I needed to kind of seek out some more. So once again, my oldest daughter stepped in and she said, you know, you love movies, you love TV, you love this creation part. And she convinced me to go back to school, go back to university. And I went back, got my master's degree in interdisciplinary studies with a focus on digital media and performance because I love creativity. And I learned how to take the creative arts and help people move forward from their grief after losing someone. The whole purpose for One More Thing Before You Go, the podcast, the primary purpose is to make sure that everybody knows you have one more thing. I had one more thing. I just had to be aware of it. I had to open my eyes and be aware of it. We always have one more thing. We have one more thing to say, one more thing to do, one more thing to say before losing someone, because life can change in an instant. I wasn't dead, but my life changed dramatically, and in turn changed my kid's life and changed my wife. It changed our family dynamic.
So I don't want
my wife.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
I said my wife went from wife to caretaker, and my kids went from kids to caretakers.
So that was the pause, the momentary where you lost. You
pause.
forgot the bigger purpose, which is to serve. You knew you were to serve.
Correct.
But exactly, I get it. So the role was taken from you. And of course, what do? The first little while, you know, I think a person often isn't aware just how impactful pieces are in life that we think are secondary. But then when something happens, we realize, oh, did it slide into primary? Because if it controls everything else, we're like, whoa, what's going on here, right? But and, you know, again, you know, it was something that comes to mind for me. It's and again, I don't want to get too into the weeds on this or too deep, perhaps. We don't want a podcast here. So, but that's kind of what my talks are. They are, we go deep and we do heavy stuff in a light way. And this is kind of how, what I love debating tensions, right? But something that came to heart for me is, listeners, if you pick up, I'm going to drop, you know, I'm going to say two concepts and ask yourself, which one did Michael reveal? What's the evidence of, based on what he says his life was as a sergeant? Was he someone that focused on restorative justice, or was he someone that focused on redemptive violence? Redemptive violence is, if you hurt me, I'll hurt you back. If you kill someone, you deserve to be killed yourself. So was he redemptive violence, or was he restorative justice? Restorative justice says, listen, you like me, brother. You effed up, I can F up too, right? Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh, no, I was going to say that. Yes, that's a good point that you just brought out. My acknowledgement of where I needed to find new purpose and realized what I had lost was right there. When I realized my kids and my wife had become caretakers, not a wife, not a daughter, but caretakers. And I went from being a sergeant of the team of 13 people and part of an organization, and them relying on me to lead that team, to having to ask my wife to button my shirt and button my pants and take me to the bathroom.
Wow.
I had to ask my kids to get me dressed. So that was a wake-up call for me. And that's why I had to kind of reevaluate where I was at and realize that my purpose had never really gone away, because I still have a purpose.
And to think that because you're a restorative justice person, you could very easily be a redemptive violence. Like, you're an idiot, you committed a crime, but of course the evidence shows different. So, you know, evidence speaks reality. And when reality is there, it's a little bit like, sometimes we wonder where the grace came from. Yeah, Caitlin, she said what she said, and it woke you up so your heart could feel and see. The only thing is, sometimes I think, you know, we get to participate with our miracle. And so to some degree, you created the luck that you now get to enjoy. You created it, because don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you're a saint, because we're both saint and sinner at the exact same time. Hello.
You don't see the halo behind me?
Well, I was trying to edit that out, so it apparently didn't work. If you see it, then anyway. But no, this is, you know, absolutely magical, right? They say let's shift over for half a second. When it comes to creativity and art, they say creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Art is knowing which ones to keep.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, what you've shaped a new identity. And so let's spin this into something magical at the moment. And not like you're just flipping, but to some degree, what are you so thankful that you shifted your identity because you're experiencing something that you never thought you would ever get to experience, and now you didn't even know it was possible for you, but now you get to experience this. Like, share with us how you're gaining and not making other life miserable, but where do you believe you're gaining? This all was designed for you, and not speaking insensitively, because that
Mm.
was a journey. I get it. I've been through. I totally understand. But just take us on a journey for a second, and you can use art, creativity, whatever you want in there. Go ahead.
Well, I have, like you, I had told you, you know this, and everybody knows this. I have been through 8 operations.
Mm,
So during the time period of those 8 different operations, my kids, my family were with me. My and that included my brother-in-law, my sister, too. Um, Within that realm, within that having to reinvent and understand creativity and how to move it forward, and understanding our new purpose, my family became priority number one. Not as if it wasn't. I need to be careful how I present this.
mhm,
My family and my kids were priority,
mhm,
right up there, unfortunately, beside my job.
mhm,
I learned to put them higher than that because I didn't want them to be caretakers. I wanted them to be daughters. I wanted them to have a normal life. I wanted my kids to grow up and understand that life is more than sitting in a wheelchair. I wanted my wife
mhm,
to say I have more than just
mhm,
to have to go home and take care of my husband.
mhm,
So once I was able to heal, once I was able to get all of my operations done, um, Hanem came to me and said, since you went back to school and you wanted to, to learn and you wanted to put your creativity to use, I felt that I could serve people better. I can serve people like I wanted to serve them, the public,
mhm,
and in the beginning, but in
mhm,
a different way by
mhm,
having conversations through a podcast like
mhm,
my One More Thing Before You Go, where I get to share other people's story of triumph over tragedy, show how they came from the obstacles in their life that stopped them, were able to overcome them, and then how they did it so we can share it with others that are going through the same journey. And
mhm,
that showed me that I have a new purpose in life that goes along with my family, goes
mhm,
along with being a father, goes along being a father and and a husband.
mhm,
Almost said wife. Now
mhm,
we know who wears the pants in the family.
mhm.
Being a husband and being a parent. And it opened my eyes to using creativity, such as the podcast, to be able to reach out for people all over the world who have journeys like mine and didn't know where else to go or where else to turn. And it gives them the opportunity to tell their story, how they overcame it, and help to inspire, educate,
Oh,
motivate more people forward in their life in a positive way. So that's how I turned what the path I was going down and learned that I have to reinvent my life, that I can still incorporate what I did as a police officer.
mm,
I can still use my communication skills. I can still use my compassion, my humanity,
mhm,
my desire to help the community, to help those around me, to help my fellow man and women and
mhm.
child forward in their life in a positive way. So that's what I do now. I do it through conversation.
Yeah. Gosh, Michael, you bring up so many so many feels for me because I've been down a journey. I hit the halftime show. We all hit halftime show of life. And typically a halftime show comes when we're like pressed from all sides. Pressed from all sides, and we're hitting threshold at a new level. Like, we're not able to hit balance the way that we once did. Everything that worked just seems to not work. And so the way I think about all of this, right? It's in my opinion, the select people, and they aren't all, but the ones that erupt out of the locker room after halftime show and come shooting out of the tunnel and do it in a healthy way are those
Uh,
that allow their pain to serve a purpose. They redeem their pain. They let it serve a purpose. That halftime show, it's like, I know this is totally decentering. I feel totally destabilized. Like, it's totally normal. We'd feel like this. And for those that push against that and resist it, they too can come out of the halftime show. But what they're coming out with is they're coming out with going, we're going to eliminate this. We're going to not utilize it. And they go, no, that was a useless part of my life. and there
Yep.
isn't any meaning, there isn't any connection in it. And these are the ones, and I hate to say it, but they're the ones wearing teenager clothes when they're 89 years old. Like, I'm not sure why we need to do this. You know what I mean? So I think what's very interesting, we all tend to believe a lie. There is a certain stage, a transition where the pressure is hot. We tend to
Yeah.
be set up to almost want to believe the lie that we lost our purpose. When in essence, it's just kind of pause. We need to rethink. And then it's like, I like what you're talking about. You came back to your values. You came back to my core. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. And so here's what I'm curious about. On gratitude, there are gratitude practices which I think are fantastic. I think they're wonderful. What I've realized, again, for those people that erupt out of the locker room and through the tunnel after halftime show,
Mhm.
gratitude kind of seems like just how they do life. Like, I hate to be like sneaky about it and like comical, because some people go, I wish I could just be grateful, but I don't have the time to be. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. There seems to be, at least for me, where I just can't do life in any other way, because and for example, when I came out of that halftime show, came into the next half of my life, I developed certain values. I wrote them down. Life owes me nothing. Everything is a gift, and nothing traps me, everything frees me. So there's things that they're not just words, but they're like, I
Right.
understand that. So I checked out of life for near 3 years. I don't know how long yours was, but it's like, actually, James, here's the thing. The reason that it lasted 3 years is because I was resisting the gift. I didn't want to utilize it. And I was trying to come out of the tunnel, and it didn't work. So life is so gracious to me. It didn't work that I come out and say, I'm trying to eliminate. It said, you're going to have to utilize this and make the gain of it, my friend. See it for what it is. It's here for you. So I'm curious here. How, and again, I'm not saying you're like perfect or a saint,
Right.
but there is this undertow. It's a little bit, undertow gratitude. It's a bit like the Mona Lisa. They say if you look at the Mona Lisa, what you'll realize, what makes it popular isn't just because it was stolen and it was brought back. There's a subtle smile, a very subtle smile that she has. So true gratitude is something that we feel from within, and it's like deep. There's pain and laughter at the
Yeah.
exact same time. It's so still. It's so peaceful. I call it electrifying stillness. Like, it is just so alive. It's so there. I get to be here. Pardon the language. Holy shit. This is incredible. So, how would you say, if you could sum up for the listeners, if you could, how are you grateful kind of naturally and almost without willpower? Because willpower will exhaust. And unless we know how to learn how to live like this, how are you? And then this next part of the question is, how would you encourage people to enter that state without them hitting a massive pressure point? Is pressure the only thing, or is there other ways of us getting there? Because I think that's the gift.
That's a brilliant couple of questions also. Realistically, I want to be honest with you. Sometimes it is difficult. In my journey, when I first started this,
Hmm.
it took me 10 years to get to a point where I
Mm-hmm.
was fortunate to reevaluating my life and being
Mm-hmm.
grateful for what was in there and not being angry. Once I decided to change that and to move forward in my life, I've had 8 operations, as I said.
And what did you
And
decide to change? Sorry for interrupting. What specifically did you decide? Because it's the moments of decision like that where life changes. What did you decide?
well, I decided that I didn't want my kids to have a disabled father, and I didn't want my wife to have to be a caretaker for the rest of her life. I didn't want my kids to have to be caretakers of me for the rest of my life. So, and I wanted to walk my daughters down the aisle, both of them, not just this one, not just my oldest, but my youngest as well. So that's what made me change my mind. It opened my eyes. That's when my daughter said, "Quit feeling sorry for yourself." And I realized that that's exactly what I was doing. I was being angry at everybody else. I was being angry that so and so
Mm-hmm.
was moving up, so and so that I trained is now a captain or lieutenant, instead of thinking about I trained them well enough that they're now captain and lieutenant and on up the line to chief, instead of saying, why did they get to do it and I didn't? I reevaluated in my life certain things that I was angry about, that I without realizing it, I looked at the positive in each one of those instances, just like that one right there.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that although I had my law enforcement career taken away from me, I had to think that every operation that I had, what pushed me through each time I had an operation, and to get up out of the chair and to walk and to do the physical therapy and to do the physical therapy and the physical therapy. And I keep saying that because I have been through 11 years of physical therapy.
Mm. You were
Okay.
motivated. You were dedicated.
Is the fact that I relied on what I learned as a cop
Mm-hmm.
to always survive, to never say die, to always move forward, and to
Mm-hmm.
look at those around you, and not just your brothers and sisters in blue. This is my analogy.
Mm.
Not and I reflect that back upon everybody else. Don't look just at my brothers and sisters in blue, but my family. So my family and my extended family. And I had to understand,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that I just had to ask for help. Some of us have an ego that's so far up there that we don't take the time.
We don't want to be takers, but unless we are receivers, love
Exactly.
doesn't work. We got to receive. And so
You're going
that
to be
takes
just ask.
vulnerability, right? You got to.
So, and it just, even if you just ask a little bit, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be, please go. I want you to carry me over there and put me down here and do every little thing. If you're having problems, if you're having an issue, whether it be physically or mentally, just ask, because you're going to be surprised about what response you get.
Spot on.
And don't be afraid to ask, because the more
Spot on.
that you get frustrated with the situation you're in, the angrier that you get, the more depressed that you get, the more resentful that you get. And then that creates a whole negative environment around you that doesn't allow you or anybody else that's in that environment to move forward. All it does is create and grow resentment and anger and depression upon everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, from that position, I once I learned that,
Mm-hmm.
it enabled me to kind of look for the positive in life every day. I watched in my career, I should say personally and in my career. I lost my father when I was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My father died. I did not have a father. For the longest time, I was angry and I was resentful of the fact that I didn't have one.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up with a stepfather when I was 18 years old. That was my stepfather for 25 years and proved to me that you don't have to be blood to be family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I learned that Burl was my father.
Mm-hmm.
I have a biological father that died. I have a stepfather that treated me like his own son and treated my kids like his grandkids, not his step grandkids, his grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to understand and look around me and see what's there,
Mm-hmm.
even the little things. Every morning, my wife and I go out on the back patio and we sit in the chair, no matter if it's cold,
And
if
I'm
it's
just going to add
warm.
this for humor. Sit on the chair and make love. Just kidding. I get it. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to play that part back over and over again for my wife.
I know it's something about nature, right? I get it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Sit on the chair
Uh-huh.
and then just take in what's around you, take in the sky, take in the birds, take in the bees, take in the flowers, take in the hummingbirds. Look at the clouds. Play the old game when you're a kid and try to figure out what shape that reminds you of.
Mm-hmm.
Just enjoy the moment and understand that you woke up, your eyes are awake, you're breathing, you have those around you that love you, you have those around you that support you,
Mm-hmm.
and be grateful for what you have in your life. If you are struggling and you're still living paycheck to paycheck, be happy you have a job. Be grateful you have a roof over your head. Be grateful you have food in your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Mm-hmm.
grateful for, just
Mm-hmm.
think, reflect. What am I grateful for today? I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for people like you, James. I am grateful for conversations like this. I'm grateful for the blue sky. I'm grateful for the rain.
Mm-hmm.
Just take the time to be grateful.
It
Don't
all
just say, well,
matters,
yeah, thanks. Everything
right?
matters.
It all matters and it all belongs, whether it's a tree, whether it's a bee, whether it's the birds and the bees conversation that you might want to
Exactly.
have with your wife. Just kidding. But yeah, right.
The
No,
birds and the bees. I saw you put that together. That
yeah,
was
I
slick.
totally. I tried. I just kind of slide it in, whatever. But I have a little, and I have said this for years. I have ever since I came out of my story over a decade ago. I just the way I describe living fully alive is choosing to live orgasmically. And what I mean to say is the man or the woman can say orgasm belongs in the bedroom. But we're not talking about sexual orgasm. We're talking about orgasm because there is such a thing that orgasm sexually, or even like when a man releases or a woman, it doesn't need to be because of another human being, nor does it need to be about objectifying body parts. Of course, as we know, that's very unhealthy. Some people literally can just think of a ship floating on, and they just have like when I listened to Matthew McConaughey's book Green Lights, he was talking about having a wet dream. And his wet dream, he said, it had nothing to do with sexual connotation. Zero, nothing. He was floating down the Amazon River naked, and there's a bunch of native people lined up along the shore and crocodiles all around him. And he had a wet dream. And he goes, when I woke up, and so I don't want to get in the weeds on this one, but at the end of the day, orgasmic living is when we let everything serve us. And I think often, and just a slight little inference, one of the things, and I'm a coach for men and women, but let's say when I coach men and they talk, and let's say they're talking about intimacy and different things. One of the things that I always discover, and then when I coach women, that I discover constantly is that the woman, so most often the woman's in her feminine element, not masculine, and the man's in his masculine. Now, it doesn't need to be like that. It can be flipped. And of course, the man has both feminine and masculine in him, and the woman both masculine and feminine as well. But oftentimes, the feminine spirit, if it's primarily showing up in the female, so the woman, she's inviting the masculine into like, can this all matter? She's inviting, it's everything that matters. Everything. It's the door open. It's the door closed. It's the light like this. Everything matters. Everything is beauty. It's texture. She says it all matters. And so for me, when I think about orgasmic living, something that strikes me, you said some earlier and you said, I decided, so let's take us, so we're going to go back there and we're going to keep skipping forward. You said, I decided I didn't want to be disabled. So listeners,
choice.
Pick that up. He decided he did. So when somebody tells you this is what will be, when my son was born, they said he probably won't run, he won't do these things, he probably won't have a connection with spirituality, he's high functioning autism. I mean, I have two boys, not both of them have that, but one of them. Would you know this child can run faster than all of us? Would you know this child has a faith obsession in the way he debates faith? So here's the thing. We decided right from the beginning. They call it attention, or autism is typically seen as ASD, is the abbreviation. Autism spectrum disorder. We say it's autism spectrum. So instead of saying disorder, it's differently abled. It's not a disorder. It's differently abled. So it's like for you, it's like Stephen Hawking, right? Stephen Hawking, he had to like reinvent himself how many times? Probably. You're differently able, but there's a key thing. If you think you can't serve the universe, if you think you can't serve with a mission, if you think you can't, the challenge is you just have to get more flexible. I'm not talking about stretching, stretching physically, but you just have to get mentally more flexible and be like, I'm going to decide that I'm going to return to the root of who I am. And that is, I get to let things limit me, or I get to see what I have the ability to do. And then I go there. You know what I mean? I go to that place. So what would you say? Yeah, I got a question. What would you say, and while you're talking, you wrote this down, I didn't want to forget it. What would you say you've been able to experience now that you're podcasting and a director and movies and different things, and in art, in video, what would you say you've experienced here that you never would have experienced as a cop? Like, honestly, just go for a bit. And this is not making one better than the other, but what would you say that is for you?
Real quick, before I start that, I would like to say what you said earlier. I want to finish that with, we all have choice in life. Mm-hmm. We have the choice to make the first step. We have the choice to take a back step. So choice is really important. Mm-hmm. Ask me that question again.
What would you say that you're experiencing as a podcaster, as a movie producer, as this person, this creative, artful person, allowing yourself to make mistakes, learning which mistakes to keep, which ones to let go of? What have you been able to experience in this place that if you had stayed a cop, you never, like, highly doubtful you ever would have experienced? And you're so grateful to God, or some mystery that you're so grateful that you got to have this experience.
Well, I'll be honest with you. One of them is that I could be a father present at home with my kids. I got to take every day with them, every moment, every special moment that I probably would have missed. The older they got, I was able to be here for them for that. So I value that immensely, along
And
with being, I have had the opportunity, so you're making me really kind of inflect upon this. I talk to a lot of different people from all over the place as a cop, because you have conversation with people that may be brief, but you have conversation with people from out of state, or you have, occasionally from out of the country. Becoming a podcaster, I have been able to network and have conversations with people in 59 different countries.
incredible.
And because of that, I don't think as a cop I ever would have been able to have that connection and that engagement and that ability to be able to understand other individuals that are going through things that I went through, but from a different cultural aspect. I was able to, through this reflection and through this conversation, through these podcasts, I have learned that life is precious and that life can change in an instant. And that within that you need to be able to take life every day, be grateful when you wake up, be grateful when you go to bed, because you have the ability to go to sleep. There are those that don't, they have insomnia. Be grateful that you wake up. Be grateful that you have a job, you have food, you have water. Be grateful for the little things, the birds and the bees, because without the bees, you don't have flowers. Without the flowers, you don't have beauty. Without the beauty, life gets dull. I've learned that I probably wouldn't have learned as a cop is to take the time to be with those that you love, again, because life can change in an instant.
So I'm going to pause for a second because I just want to honor what you said. And I want people to reflect on a few words. I'm going to repeat them back, and every listener gets to decide which you think is the most important word. What resonates for you? This is what Michael said. I get to be a father that's present with his family. The word that comes to heart for me is I get to, but I also underline presence. Because honestly, how is life precious when you're not present? You're not even aware of life. Life is precious when you're present. And presence is a choice. Presence is not something that we have to wait for the arrival of something different to happen. Presence is being with what we're currently experiencing. And maybe not labeling it good and bad for once. Maybe just observe it and feel it and see where that takes us. Everything we feel is an arrow that points us to taking the next proper action. A lot of people, they feel so conflicted. Which emotions will I make safe? And therefore, they live small on the spectrum of experiencing life fully alive. Why not instead, and I challenge each one, why not instead take what you feel, and instead of thinking you're going to be trapped by it and stuck there, let that moment serve you. Because if you're not present with it, ask yourself, does it work to ever flee your existence? It never works. You cannot flee your existence. What you feel is what you feel. Instead of blaming your mind for giving you a bad thought, that's what you're feeling. So what's the purpose? To stay there? Well, now you're stuck. To anxiously struggle away? Well, now you're really effed. How about let it just pass through you and experience it and say, what does that feeling make me want to do next? Okay. Being present. The gifts of a father are many, generations deep, when he or she can just be present. Presence. You look at orgasmic living. Oh, we can hustle, 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 strive, 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 hamster wheel forward, anxiously trying to get ourselves to some projected finish line. I'd argue you might not have time for an orgasm then. You might not, when I say orgasm, like just like enjoy life. Yep. Like really like in awe and in wonder of what this is. Like, holy, I get to be here. I get to participate with what's directly in front of me. This is what I was given. Holy camole, and I get to discover gifts hidden in disguise, in broad daylight, if I'm present, I will see in the darkness. I don't have to be concerned that there is darkness around me. This happened. Okay, it's a little dark. I get to just be with the darkness and trust that something will appear if I stay present with it. When I stay present, something happens. I guarantee you that if I listen to your story so far, Michael, I would say there was times that you didn't want to be present when you were arresting someone and you're like, I caught the bad kid, but you chose to. You made a choice to. And what's the highest state of love and living, by the way? Because love is living. There is nothing but love. That's the only thing. We all want the same thing. We want more of it. We want to receive. We want to give more of it. That's it. It's over. Like, it's really, at the end of the day, I think we always have to reconcile that there is this thing inside of us that says, yeah, but he deserved it. And it's like, wait a minute, but don't I too then? Because where am I a perfect soul? Let he with the, cast the first stone. He who hasn't committed some wrong, cast the first stone. Like, I'm an amateur in the Bible, but I mean, honestly speaking, go ahead. I can see something bubbling in there.
No, I mean, I agree with that. There were situations where there were arrests that I made that I felt bad when I had to arrest somebody because they made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're all human beings, we all make mistakes. But unfortunately, those mistakes, when I say this, please understand the context within it.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to be arrested for those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, people make bad decisions and people don't think fully through. And they realize it that moment that they got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And they realize that, oh crap, I did do something wrong and I really do or am going to have to pay for that. So yes, I felt bad in those situations, but at the same time, I tried in those situations to treat them with as much respect as I could, with the understanding of the circumstances that were taking place, i.e., some of the cars that I got back, telling me thank you for treating me like an individual, not just like a dirtbag. We all have a choice in life. We all have the opportunity to be good or be bad. We all have the opportunity to move forward or step back, to look into the light or put our head underneath the covers.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to make that choice, which direction we're going to move forward in. So everything that you had just said right prior to this, being present in life, trust me, personally, I told you I've lost a lot of people that I wasn't able to say goodbye to. As a police officer, I was with a lot of people who, under the circumstances, died in an instant for whatever reason, whether it be a heart attack or a traffic accident or a suicide or a homicide. Somebody didn't get a chance to say what they wanted to say. They didn't get a chance to say goodbye. They didn't get a chance to say, I love you. They didn't get a chance to say, I'm proud of you. I'm sorry. Anything like that. Life can change in an instant. So value your life. Take each moment as a gift.
If you were to say, this will get personal now, and you can answer if you like. If you don't want, you can say pass. But if you were to say to someone what you haven't yet said, this is a new moment. You've shared the story over and over again, but every time you share the story, it gets a little different. It hits us a little differently. What's coming to heart for you, or what's nudging you from within to say, you know what, I'm going to wrap words around that? Is it something you're going to say, or is it a certain feel that you're going to emphasize maybe differently? But if you could just take, and I'll share mine after. I mean, you share yours. Hey, I was horse trading. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm trying to think. To be honest, James, I've had the unique opportunity that I value, and I'm grateful for that too, of having about 240 conversations where within those I've been able to say a lot of what I didn't get to say in some instances throughout my life. I was able to make those statements, to make those comments, and to be able to get to say what I wanted to say. One thing that I probably would say is I wish my father could have been around to see and to understand that what I made of my life, the ups and the downs. And
so if he was here right now, because perhaps he, to some degree, spirit, whatever, might still
he may still be here.
Right. So if you were to say something to him, what would it be? If you would say something that you never thought of saying, you're just going to say it now. What?
Well, my thing would be, I'm sorry that you went through what you went, and I wish I could have been there for you before you died, and I wish I could have
Mm-hmm.
helped you to through that, so
Mm-hmm.
that it was easier for you to either heal or transition.
Mm. No, that's beautiful. Mine would be, and I think I shared with you just prior to the show here. This is my year of, so I chose my term was, it's the year of the power of two. So collaboration was my theme this year. And so, the floodgates, I just have so many collaborations opportunities. And
Hmm.
it's a wonderful thing. Um, but a lot of wonderful can provide the same amount of pressure as having no wonderful. Because you're like, what
Hmm.
do I do now? Because choice can be difficult. It can be equally difficult. It can be equally difficult in a few ways. I won't go there other than to say, this is what I'd share with my wife. This is what I would say that I haven't said to her yet. I've said it in different ways, but this articulates it maybe a little bit better. I would say to her, Meg, hmm, Meg, thank you for being with me and listening to me when I'm pressed from all sides. I really honor that in you. Thank you so much.
That's profound.
Yeah.
So, recognition sometimes is the most valuable gift you could ever get.
Hmm. Yeah. I just want to see her. I want her to see what anyway. I have two more questions, and then I got my final one, which my audience always likes, which you might like too.
I
So,
didn't do it. It wasn't me, and I have an alibi.
so I'll cue it up ready. The question at the end is, where do you struggle most? So honestly, I think it's honesty for you. Just kidding. Just kidding. Hey, listen, how does mind, body, soul work to embrace our well-being?
That's a wonderful question. I love answering this question. I have learned throughout all of my ordeal, all of my trials and tribulations, and through all of my journey, especially with this disease and with 8 operations, that mind, body, and soul have the ability to connect. You have to be aware. You have to understand. You have to
Mm-hmm.
look deep within inside yourself and understand that your soul will tell your mind what to do. Your heart will connect to your soul and push you in the right direction. So your mind, your body will then follow. Your mind has the ability to heal everything about you. It has the ability to put you on the right path. It has the ability to make the right decision for you if you listen to your soul and you pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to your body. So your body, if you start with your soul and that's part of your heart and you connect that to your mind, then you can feel that when you connect it to your body, it allows you to heal, move forward, and to think positively and to generate what you need
Mm-hmm.
to help you move forward and live life the way it needs to be lived. I'm 103. You wouldn't know
Friends, he's got a sense of humor. He's a serious dude. He's wickedly whimsical and intriguing. So he might be Al Pacino. I have
it. I
to get
might
this
be.
figure. He might be. He might be. Listen, how does gratitude how does gratitude help our soul based on your, and of course all of this is based on your experience. How would you say it helps your soul? Because your soul,
What?
we can all hear that everything comes from your soul, and we all know it comes from that.
Mhm.
So how does gratitude, I think, support your soul and help your soul there? Yeah.
I think each and every day that some of us start to feel guilty about what we have. We start to feel guilty about what others have and we don't.
Mm,
And I think that from that perspective, sometimes we feel that we've offended somebody or we maybe didn't give somebody enough confidence or enough
mm,
appreciation for what we do. So within those instances, gratitude, once we understand that we should be grateful for who is in our life, and once we realize who is in our life, why they're in our life,
mm,
once we're grateful for what we have in our life, even if it's the smallest thing,
mm,
then
mm,
it connects with our heart.
mm,
When it connects with our heart, then that makes our soul feel better because the heart resonates with the soul. And the soul and the heart, it plays out on the body. When you're angry, you'll notice that if you have any kind of inflammation or any kind of, you either get a headache, you get tension, your body will ache, when you get angry. Well, that's because your body's saying, wait a minute, you don't need this.
Mm,
Stop doing this.
mm,
When you're
mhm,
grateful, it gives you the opportunity to be thankful for every breath that you take.
mm,
It gives you thankful for every sight that you see, the voices that you hear, the music, the melodies, everything that's within your life that gives you an opportunity to take pause and enjoy life. So when we're grateful, when we take it deep inside and really mean it, then it
mhm,
allows us to relax. When we
mhm,
relax, it connects with our soul. When the
mhm.
soul, it connects with our mind. Our mind then begins to relax our body, and it gives us the opportunity to refresh and understand how that all pieces together.
So this is really crazy, but as you were talking, one of the things that I wrote down, it allows us to relax before you said relax. Now, what's interesting is you also said every breath we take. And the first song I played for the first long-term girlfriend of mine, is not my wife, is Every Breath You Take. So I don't know if you also had a past fling, but here's what I like to do, and you can defer if you like, and perhaps on another podcast. But you are this Hollywood person, bigger than life individual. Would you like to sing the song for us?
I, I will not go there.
All right, okay, all right, James. Just keep this thing between the rails. I totally get it. I
Yeah, I
totally
will
understand.
not go there.
There's always school you could sign up. You could always do voice
You
lessons.
can
Anyway, I get
always do that. The best I could do is no, I won't even go there.
my goodness. You know what? I have so enjoyed this talk. We could go on for hours. Gosh, this would just be a forever little talk. But I will say that when I met you, yeah, no, there are so many connecting points, and I think the goodness of life is we get to connect with both similar and difference. I think there's a problem when we can't go beyond connecting with that which we can't comprehend.
That is
And,
correct.
and so we have to connect beyond that which we can't comprehend. And I can't comprehend being a cop, but I just challenge all of us, if we want to re-listen to this and connect, ask yourself, which areas were you selective listening, perhaps? Which area, not you, but listeners, where were you kind of, I don't understand, so I'll connect later. Say, well, wait a minute. Well, I'm going to let this serve me and say, well, I have a difficult time connecting with or comprehending this,
Mm.
but that's no excuse for me not to connect. Because I'll tell you one thing, and actually I'd like your opinion on this, but I think that the core of being present, which is all of life, basically, if you're not present, you're not living. At the core of life equals connection. If you're not connected, you're not present. Period. Or what's your take on that?
I do agree with that. We as human beings want connection. We as human beings and society are designed to want and need other people. We
Mm-hmm.
need touch, we need feel, we need feelings, we need sight, we need all of our senses put together. Then when we connect with somebody else, it allows us to feel part of a
Mm-hmm.
community. And
Mm-hmm.
feeling part of that community allows us to build a society that is built upon the same values, the same morals, the same principles, and something that we can connect to feel as one.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I agree with that. I think that not just expand within our own little communities. I think it expands across the world. That's
Mm-hmm.
why when we first were talking in the beginning, I said I believe that we're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we all across the world, we are connected in some form or another because we all have the same. We have DNA. We all have
Mm-hmm.
blood running through our systems. We all breathe the same oxygen. We all have eyes that can see. We have ears that can hear. We have empathy, we have compassion, we have humanity. We just have to reach inside us and make sure we bring that forward. We all want and need that connection with other human beings in order to help us thrive and succeed.
That's just fantastic. All right. Here's the doozer. Where do you struggle in your life? And the reason let me just say it like this, Michael. I think the reason that my audience likes this so much is we work so hard in life to often be like, well, look at us, look at us, look at us. And my audience, they come to me for real value. And I know in your
Mm-hmm.
show the exact same thing. So this is not designed to set you up or set me up. This is designed to like give ourselves a gift and be like, oh, this is how I'm fully human. Because I think we make it easy for people to connect with our message. We're like, oh, he's a human. He struggles there.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And he's not like overtly afraid of the struggle. He's going, this is what I'm working through. So yeah, you want to share?
Uh, yeah, sure, I will. The struggles that I have are, as I said earlier, I'm still dealing with a disease. I haven't cured it. There's no cure for it. So I do have days that I wake up and I have inflammation or severe pain, or I'll go to bed with severe inflammation or pain. On those particular days, I struggle with those because then I go
Mhm.
back to the reflection of why am I going through this again? Why me? I'm a good person.
Mhm.
You play that scenario through your head that I dedicated a good portion of my life to helping other people. Why am I going through this? So I do have days like that, and that's where I struggle because I have to be reminded, like my wife has to remind me occasionally that, you have a disease and, there are certain aspects of life that you can't perform and you need to ask for help. And I still have just a
Mhm.
little bit of
Mhm.
pride and ego that stands in the way that
Mhm.
of me asking for help in those situations.
I love it. What I'll say to you, and not to solve anything, because I think your health isn't a problem to be solved. It's perhaps bringing you to the tension that you are experiencing, and it's a gift to you. You're
Mhm.
recognizing your humanity. Anybody who says they have no ego, that's dangerous because that's not
Mhm.
possible. Everybody has. And I'll just say it like this. I'll extend the offer, and I know you did the same. But from the same level, you said if I come to Phoenix, you're willing to open the door for me. I just wanted to let you know, you ever come this way, we're installing a cryotherapy device tomorrow, and so cryotherapy will reset your inflammatory markers. And so,
That's
we'd
amazing.
love to have you experience it. And maybe if you like, boy, if I can get set up somehow for you. But Phoenix, you live, I know where, you're there. There's cryotherapy places there. Perhaps try it. I would love to see you experience and just have a newness when that shows up. Because for me, the reason I am getting the cryo set up is I have certain days I have post-nasal sinusitis, and all of a sudden it just kicks in and the inflammation is pretty intense, and I have to be on medication, and it puts me to sleep basically because it's just sedative and it's not
Hmm.
fun. So anyway, when I did the cryo, it does deliver on that, and it will reset your inflammation markers.
That's very interesting. We'll have to
Yeah.
talk about that when
Yeah.
we're done.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway,
Yeah,
if you come down this neck of the woods, you can come in and use it anytime. So there you go.
I appreciate that very
So,
much.
yeah, Michael, where can people find you? Because I want people to be able to look you up and tap into some of your work.
My podcast is One More Thing Before You Go. It's a unique conversation about life and death and everything in between. I'm on each and every platform that's out there, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, or you can find me on my website at beforeyougopodcast.com. And it's all one word, beforeyougopodcast.com. And you can reach out to me there. If you want to be on the show, there's a little microphone. You can click that little microphone and leave me a message, and I'll reach out to you.
There you go, folks. Michael, thank you for blessing us with your presence. It was piercing. I know it pierced many a heart, and I hope it pierced a few shells that were kind of resistant. We all have these moments,
There's
but great
always
distance can be okay too. Anyway, there's always a few of us, and I hope this message found you listeners in a place that had you go, "Yeah, I'm going to do something about something today," and you decide what that is. You get to make choice. So, Michael, it was great. It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much, James. It was a pleasure to be here as well.
With inflation rates rising, interest rates shooting up, gas prices skyrocketing, and the continued global unrest, it's easy to find what's wrong in the world. Tony Robbins says, "What's wrong in the world is always available, but so is what's right." Instead of trying to hope and wish the world into a better place, it's time to make the most important decision any of us can ever make, and that is to invest in yourself. Now, you already know that I've always stood with you as you've navigated the uncertainties of life's reality. However, it's now high time that I step up and take decisive action to walk alongside your current life journey by making myself available to you in a radically new way during these challenging times. For a limited time, I'm inviting you to a 45-minute strategic business life consultation at no charge and no strings attached. This consultation is where you'll regain the reins of your life. It's where you'll gain clarity on exactly why you're stuck, moving you directly towards your optimal outcomes. I'm humbled to say, however, my clients' generous reflection of their time spent with me reveals the truth. The skills they've been able to master in a short period of time by engaging in our one-on-one strategic sessions have changed their lives in so many ways. This is the only invitation that I can fathom that will put my skin in the game of your life in such a way that will allow us to address your specific needs with precision and excellence. 45 minutes, just you and I, together on a call to get you headed in the direction you crave most. Here's what my clients report after our one-on-one sessions. A decrease in indecision, an increase in clarity, confidence, and courage, an increase in fully being able to capitalize on what's directly in front of them, an increase in impact at work, on their families, and on their communities, a decrease in pain and suffering, and a decrease in anxiety. So, if you want to move beyond old stories, get clear on where you're headed so that you can shake your world, then here's a rich opportunity for you today. Simply go to www.jameshepner.com and stay on the page for about 45 seconds or so, and you'll see a little pop-up appear that will allow you to book in your business life consultation with me. This offer will expire and fill up. Maximizing this opportunity will set you up to reclaim and regain any of your inner power that has slowly been drawn down over these challenging times. And remember, if you want to stop the self-sabotage, raise your standards, and participate with unshakable confidence, you'll want to take the Maximize Your Life quiz found at www.jameshepner.com/quiz right now. My sincere hope is that you've gleaned a few nuggets for yourself and a few pieces of interest that help you move forward in your unique journey. So again, I thank you for joining me here. This is James Hepner clocking out. Until next time, peace out, rock up.